Hey, this is Kevin from the Comics Crowd, recapping what's new in Kickstarter Comics from December 16th to December 23rd, 2024. New comics crowdfunding launches typically slow to a drip on Kickstarter during the Christmas season, and 2024 was no different, as overall comics project volume dove toward 100 as compared with 350 campaigns just 2 months ago. Also on the decline is overall project quality. There's just not much in the way of good comics to endorse right now, while way up are the number of projects heavy on nude covers and porn content, as well as comics using artificial intelligence to generate art. Let's go day by day and let you in on the details. Slow news days here in the Kickstarter Comics category with just 4 launches across Sunday and Monday. First up, we've got Bombastic Sexy Girls, which, as you can imagine, is a pornographic art book, not a comic. No sequential art here, and it should be funded in the illustration category. Right behind that, we've got Magi's Grace 1 and 2. It's a cartoonishly illustrated porn cover mill that offers up a grand total of 2 sentences of story synopsis, but a few pages of stylized but unlettered sequential art. Not sure if we're actually going to get a comic out of that one or not. Over at the Safer Work part of Kickstarter Comics, we have The Northern Patriot, which answers the time-honored question, what if Captain America was Canadian and also a Moon Knight cosplayer? It's another case of a creator inspired by mainstream superhero comics to create not just a comic, but a quote-unquote publishing company. That cart is officially before the horse, gentlemen. And lastly, Shaolin Nun All Ages Edition. Not quite sure what inspired this, but it's a reprint of a previously published comic series, but with the cuss words Grawlixed out. If you don't know what Grawlixed means, that's what you see in old-timey comics when Marvel or DC would replace damn or hell or the F word or whatever with punctuation marks like exclamation points, question marks, at symbols, the pound sign, things like that. That seems like a lot of effort and expense to go the moral direction that's the opposite of the rest of what Kickstarter is doing right now. That's swimming upstream with an open bag of cash underwater, in my opinion. It's a decent looking campaign, but the pricing is really weird, with really cheap 4-issue digital and print tiers, $10 and $20 respectively. But you add a t-shirt and the price goes up $80 to a $100 pledge. Add a poster set and we're up an additional $100. Add 3 art prints and a character name for the backer and the jump is another $300 up to a $500 pledge. I just can't get behind that. So on a couple of days when the total comics projects volume on Kickstarter drops below 150, it's at 149. As of this morning, there's really not much to choose from these launches. I can't endorse any of them as a comic I like, but maybe something good is coming down the pipe tomorrow or the day after. A couple of power launches dominated on Tuesday with Archie Comics' Golden Age Facsimile Collection and Pat Shan's Nippy No. 1 and 2, both blasting past $30,000 in funding within the first 24 hours for each. This Archie collection is a real departure from typical campaigns as reward tiers start at $100, an amount that will net you 10 facsimile editions of key vintage issues from the line in a custom collector's box. Now, you can choose the blonde or brunette box style depending on your preference for Betty or Veronica, which is a cute gimmick, but that's pretty pricey, and it only goes up from there. Pat Shan's Nippy is a porn parody of Disney's Frozen animated films, and there's some other Disney characters sprinkled in. As with all the ever-present comics Pat and his crew churn out, the covers and interior art are of excellent quality, and the Kickstarter page spends some substantial portion of its space on an actual story synopsis. One other not safe for work title dropped yesterday, Hot Summer, which describes itself as an erotic parody comic, but it doesn't quite share the same interest in story that Pat Shan's book does. The AI-generated art here is nice, definitely carries a different look than most in that genre, but every character wears the exact same facial expression in every single image. It's really weird. Eclipse Skies is an empty campaign page with text walls that extol the magnificence of the creator's comic vision, but offers no art, not one piece of art other than the AI-generated page cover image. Nothing to see here. And then Bronwyn, a short story collection, is pretty much the opposite of Eclipse Skies, with almost no story information but scroll upon scroll of minuscule art, mostly covers. Presented in such tiny format, it's difficult to discern what's even there on these little things. They're like the size of stamps, and you just can't tell what's going on there. It's not even worth looking. I will say that at least the drops from yesterday are better than what we've been seeing the last several days, going back into last week. And there was a really cool book that dropped yesterday that I count as a comic I like, which is a definite improvement over what we've been seeing. And that's Serial Killer number 1 and 2, described as an immature murder mystery. This is from Bad Bug Media. And their own synopsis, one-sentence synopsis, is serial mascots are dropping left and right, and it's up to a detective with a grudge against breakfast to crack the case. So think of this as a trippy story concept like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but with breakfast cereal mascots coexisting with people in the real world instead of the cartoon characters from Roger Rabbit. This is a 24-page book. It's the second issue. And you can get that second issue for the low digital tier price of $6. And the print tier price is not much more at $8. They do have catch-up rewards tiers available with a slight discount on $1 or $2 if you get both 1 and 2 in a package. But the art, colors, and composition here is stylized and fun, and the covers are hilarious, well-executed parodies of cereal box covers from years past. This one's just different enough and just weird enough for me to recommend it. The art looks terrific. The covers are just funny to look at if you've ever walked through a grocery store and down the cereal aisle. And it's a departure from the other things I've been seeing, not only in terms of the quality of the Kickstarter campaign page presentation and the actual presentation of story synopsis and art from inside and outside the comic, but also just in the fact that it's a different type of story than I've seen offered on Kickstarter before. Very original, seems very creative, and I suggest you check it out. As of Thursday morning, the overall project volume in the Kickstarter comics category is down to 142. We got about 2 weeks left in 2024, and I'm just curious, how much closer to that magic number of 100 will the comic volume go? My guess is it's going to dwindle down to around 125 before stabilizing and swelling again with a fat rush of projects in the second week of January. At least that's how it's kind of gone in recent years. Wednesday saw 5 launches in the comics category, including 1 empty campaign, Tenshio Legend: Cries of Destiny. This one touts a 7-part series but shows only 3 AI-generated images and a 1-paragraph story synopsis to represent, quote, the last 16 years creating a new universe of superheroes and villains, unquote. Look, if you back this, you'll be waiting another 16 years for a whole lot of nothing. That grand design pitch is endemic to those supposed Kickstarters that say a lot and show nothing. It's a warning sign to stay the hell away, and you should. Longtime publisher Antarctic Press jumps into the shallow holiday Kickstarter comics pool with a straight-up porn comic, Fred Perry's Gold Digger, War Mistress of Mars. Look, Antarctic has made good comics across the spectrum for many, many years, dating back into the 1980s, and I have a lot of respect for these guys, but the sheer amount of contrived up-the-ass angles displayed just on the interior art samples is comical. There's 2 to 3 of those anal shots on most pages, and it's so laughably absurd it's not even offensive. Weirdly, Gold Digger only offers 1 titty cover. They are really missing out on the porn cover millboat. Edging around the Christmas season is Mike Hoffman's Holiday Custom Collection, a campaign featuring 1 reward consisting of 80 comics PDF files for $100. That's great value in bulk, but $100 is a big ask of most folks this time of the year. However, if you're looking to binge some comics during the holiday, this might be for you. As opposed to the rest of this week, 2 of the 5 drops from yesterday actually hold some real interest and promise. First up, Salty Roos, as in kangaroos, is back with a pair of stories of anthropomorphic kangaroos featuring the Krampus and the Jersey Devil. This series is always fun, always has awesome comic art and high production values, and the story concepts always inspire curiosity. There's also a manageable, if robust, back catalog of issues to keep you reading. Also springing into comic I like territory is Maze of Shells, which is a strange concept set in an infinite store and based on the horrific encounters and discoveries that await within. This is a really off-the-wall idea that made me want to read it, and I backed it. It's $25 for a 32-page black and white comic, and that's pricey, even for Kickstarter. So I opted for the $10, but still pricey, PDF. So 40% on the right side of good, not too bad. Just checking in on the total number of campaigns in the Kickstarter Comics category, we're down to 123 as of this morning. There were only 4 launches on each of Thursday and Friday, so there's not much project volume filling in the gaps as many end. And when you consider that 3 of the 8 drops I'm covering today aren't even for comics, or legitimate comics, there's even less in the way of actual reads. First, let's talk about the projects that will not produce new comics. Breaking Into Comics, How to Self-Publish Returns, is an awesome resource from Devil Deuce Josh Blaylock. This is an update on a book about how to make comics and how to publish comics that he produced probably 10 plus years ago. But it's not a comic, so I'm not covering it here. And then there's comic book mystery boxes for a mobile comic book store. They're raising money for a retail enterprise. That's not a comic. And then, perhaps most interesting, there's Eclipse Skies, Rebirth of the Light. Okay. That's the second time this week this creator, quote-unquote creator, launched a one-day campaign for a quote-unquote webcomic, but shows nothing but an AI-generated Kickstarter page cover image and a long text wall that I'm certain is also AI-generated. Stay away. A one-day campaign makes no sense. And honestly, I wonder if this is a campaign generated and run by bots, and they're just going to keep relaunching this over and over until Kickstarter gets wise and stops it. I guess we'll find out. It seems to me that the reduced overall project volume in December has led to a proportional increase in the number of not safe for work comics launches. Right now, I'm closely tracking launches by genre, planning ahead for some meaty data analysis in February once all the December launch campaigns end. You might want to sit down for this. As of today, 27 of 61 December launches in the comics category are not safe for work titles, meaning, by my definition, that they feature explicit sexual depictions or gratuitous nudity within the comic and or any degree of nudity on at least one cover. Folks, that's 42.6% of all launches this month. That's a fat number that I will soon dig into and talk more about. 3 of those not safe for work drops happened within the past couple of days, weirdly including 2 Jungle Girl comics. One called Jungle Jade, which refers to itself as an action-packed not safe for work comic in hardcover. There's a grand total of 2 sentences in the story synopsis and sequential art that's so minuscule you can't make out what's even on the little thumbnails, the little stamp-sized thumbnails they provide you. And that tells you all you need to know about what little you can expect from the inside of this comic. But you can score a huge bonanza of titty covers if you want to from Jungle Jade. The other jungle-themed comic is Theater 7. At least this one offers a little more text and description of story and some full-size page art samples. The covers for this book are rough by porn cover mill standards, and this one comes from a creator who's been many months behind on fulfillment of several projects for a long time, and he's still dropping new ones on the monthly with Kickstarter's blessing. You might remember, if you read my other Substack, Self-Portrait of a Comic Self-Publisher, that I did a whole article on this back in October. And this guy, his behavior on Kickstarter is reprehensible, and the fact that he's getting away with it is worse. Last in the not safe for work category is The Exorcist Club number 1 through 3, a spicy supernatural comic. So here we've got a decently substantial story synopsis, Terry Dodson-esque interior art on actual sequential pages, and nude cover options that are actually clever and not just spread cheeks or crotch shots. So this one I'm counting as a comic I like, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. We have a project called The French Baron that is unapologetically AI generated, featuring, as it would, a perpetually shifting art style as the verbal prompts solicit other people's work and apply it to each panel without consistency, judgment, or talent. And the lettering sucks. Lastly, The Prince in the Garden 2 is manga inspired. It's a medieval romance with some nice covers and sequential art samples that don't look like they're from the same artist of the same book. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think my eyes deceiving me on this. It's off-putting to look at. As I mentioned, I'm selecting The Exorcist Club as a comic I like. It's pretty rare for me to choose a not safe for work project to achieve that status, but occasionally one puts together a confidence-inducing combination of story art and covers that makes me feel like a real comic book might just emerge from the crowdfunding campaign. So there you have it. Comic I Like, The Exorcist Club. Let's see what the weekend holds. Well, here we are on Christmas Eve, and Santa totally forgot to leave something good for the Kickstarter Comics category. We had 0 launches on Saturday, only 1 on Sunday, and on Monday, let's just say it was slim pickings. First, let's talk about the comics campaigns that will not yield actual comics. Here's one called Comic Book Conservation. This is a cool project focused on preserving comics, and it deserves to be backed. But it's about comics, it's not a comic, so it falls outside what I cover here on the Comics Crowd. Worth checking out though if you're into preserving old comics, keeping them from degrading over the decades. The next one is a bit of a weird critter. The Lustful Blade of the Celestial Frontier. Quite the title. But it's the latest in a launch trend that I'm seeing that appears to be fully AI generated, and that includes the overstretched plastic Kickstarter page cover and the overly organized robotic text walls that are devoid of any other visual art samples. These things are popping up more frequently recently. This one launched, canceled within hours, and then launched again for 59 days. One common attribute of these campaigns that I've noticed is the reward tiers start at extremely high prices. So for the Lustful Blade, your entry-level pledge is $75 for a digital copy. Crazy. The project called Seductive Bite openly acknowledges that it's all AI, all the time. What it's not, though, is anything that's ever going to actually result in a comic book. There's no cover art, no sequential art, not a shred of a story synopsis. Just 2 lusty AI images that this dude liked and wants to cash in on. And what I'm about to read to you is the actual title of a Kickstarter campaign that's symptomatic of the type of project that it is. This one's called Journey to Bring quote-unquote Rise of Dingy to the World. This is another example of the grand design project I've mentioned before. These prioritize a dream about making comics over an actual plan to make a comic. This one in particular shows one panel of muddy colored art and a few more in-progress panels with a couple of paragraphs of plot summary. What's really strange about this one is the PDF downloads start at $30, and there's purportedly a free mobile game in development, and you can pledge to get it for free for $150. Make it make sense, man. This creator is totally out of touch at all levels. And here's one that I'm pretty sure was created just based on the fact that 2 words in the title rhyme. It's called The Coyote on Peyote. Somebody just really wanted to work peyote and coyote into the same title. And nothing instills confidence that the project you're pledging will ever actually be produced, like almost all the reward tiers being for another comic. Not making that up, not exaggerating. Most of the reward tiers for The Coyote on Peyote are for a comic that the creator previously produced. But you can get in on the titular The Coyote on Peyote for just $30. There's no cover art, and the sequential pages shown are dark, muddy, and not conducive to storytelling via comics. I'm not touching this one. By my math, that's 5 out of 6 launches across 3 days that are either not comics or extremely unlikely to become comics. So surely that 6th project is a primo high-level project, right? Not exactly. But it is a comic. Lunar Smoke Silent Night Christmas Special is a naughty porn cover mill project that showcases several pages of sequential art and includes a story synopsis in some detail, so it's got all that going for it. The art at all points for this not safe for work Christmas comic is nicely executed, but it's really pricey for 24 pages of content. We're talking $15 for a PDF and $20 plus shipping for a non-nude print edition. Even if this kind of vapid TNA vehicle was my jam, I'm not backing it at those price points. There are much better porn comics on Kickstarter in the range of $7 for a PDF and $12 for a print copy. So, sad to say, no Christmas gifts from Kickstarter comics. Just a bunch of empty campaigns or campaigns that aren't comics or campaigns that aren't trying to make very good comics. And that's basically the general state of comics on Kickstarter at this point in the holiday season. It may seem discouraging, but new launches will rebound starting in January, and a greater percentage of those will be the story-driven, expertly illustrated comics we're all hunting. Let's keep looking. To keep up with daily crowdfunding launches in the Kickstarter Comics category, join me, comics writer and self-publisher Kevin Laporte, on Substack at thecomicscrowd.substack.com. Subscribe for free and enjoy routine analysis of every single comic project that drops on Kickstarter. Paid subscribers gain immediate access to audio editions of select posts, including the daily launch reviews.